Welcome everybody to what I'm calling another annual podcast. This time we're doing 2023 in review. I know that our fans have been waiting patiently all year because this is what you most look forward to, is our annual podcast. And I do got to say, I'm glad we're still doing this, and I look forward to it every year. So I'm excited for this conversation. But yeah, 2023 in movies, there was a lot that came out. And I think, if you had to pick the most pivotal thing that happened this year, is anything bigger than Barbenheimer? Like, that was it, right? Like, that was peak movie in 2023.
Yeah, well, also concurrent with that, I don't know if it's necessarily part of the phenomenon, but it was also the fact that some really expensive movies came out this year and just did not do well. Yeah.
That's true. All right, let's talk about Barbenheimer first, and then maybe we'll get into, we want to get into box office stuff. But has everyone seen both Oppenheimer and Barbie?
Yeah.
Okay. Did anyone do the double feature Barbenheimer?
No, because Oppenheimer came out here a month or two later than Barbie did. So I just couldn't do that.
Right. I don't have an excuse. I think we saw them a day apart or something, but no, we didn't watch them.
Well, this guy did. And let me tell you, it's it was a lot. It was a lot of movie.
I was just about to say, Oppenheimer in itself, I feel almost counts as a double feature. That's a long movie. I don't know if you need to pair that with anything else.
I will say, if there was any through line, which to be clear there wasn't, but if there was any through line between the two movies, it was kind of so the way I saw Barbie first, then Oppenheimer, that was just the way that the movie schedule was planned out. I was pretty agnostic on the order, but the aspect of Oppenheimer's relationships and how he treats women kind of maybe stood out more to me than it would have had I not come off of Barbie right after. So that maybe was, as far as my viewing experience being affected, I think that was it. And then maybe just the jarringness of such a different tone.
I mean, I don't know. I think the contrast is the part, huge part of the phenomenon, in and of itself. There was this color palette, this juxtaposition that they used to kind of advertise or the way that those two movies proliferated, that I thought was really striking and made it really popular. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, those two directors' sensibilities are so different from one another.
So, I mean, obviously we all know Nolan. We've talked about his movies on this podcast before. Greta Gerwig, how familiar were you with her stuff before Barbie?
I'd seen Lady Bird and her version of Little Women, and I think those were her only movies before this, right? Or at least feature-length films that I know of. So I'd seen both her movies before this one.
Yeah, for me this was my first experience with her, but now she's a household name. I feel like she's kind of exalted herself, and I'm sure. I understood that she was already successful before as kind of it makes critically acclaimed films, but now you're a blockbuster director, so I'll definitely be interested to see what she does in the future.
Is Barbie the highest grossing film of the year?
Yeah.
It beat Super Mario Brothers, right? Yeah. Which actually kind of surprised me a little bit, right?
And it's in the top 10 of all time. I'm pretty sure. We don't fact check on this podcast, so please fact check everything.
I'm gonna say a couple true things, a couple lies. It's up to you to find them.
Our sources that we made it up.
No, only the best in amateur theory. But so I I guess how did you guys feel about these movies? I mean, I'll let you guys choose if you want to compare them, or if you would want to talk about them separately. I think that's fine too. Which one? I guess this is the hot question, right? This is the hot take question. What's the better movie, Barbie or Oppenheimer?
Okay. I like Oppenheimer just a little bit more. And both movies are great. Like, let's start with like the floor here, and then we can talk about the ceilings, which is that both movies were, in my opinion, just really effective. They succeeded in telling us the story in the way that they did, and the stories were very good. And they were both very, like, I think that regarding both of them, they both have style as like a big aspect of the film. It's not like there's styles in the background and then the main story, plot, character elements are in front. I felt like both of them had a tone that was front and center, and like, I don't know, they're both good. But the reason I like Oppenheimer a little bit more, I don't know, and it does feel a little strange to start nitpicking the bad things when I was pretty vague about, I guess, the good things about both of them, but I'm addressing the question, so I don't want to put it off too much. Is that I felt like Barbie had this issue, which was that it said a lot of what it wanted to say instead of embedding it directly into the story to some extent. And not to say it wasn't embedded in the story, just that there was a lot of ideas or message that it just communicated instead of it being seamless to the plot. It's not.
It was more of a tell don't show, or not showing,
exactly,
sort of thing.
Yeah, and so I thought that I don't know, it stood out to me. Whereas the flaws in Oppenheimer, which there are some, in my opinion, they did not stand out to me to the same extent. So. Okay.
Well, let me give my opinion because it happens to be the opposite of yours. So it gets contrast. Because I thought Barbie was the better movie. And a big reason for that is because Oppenheimer has this horrible, horrible scene where, you know, they're making love, right? Oppenheimer and his girl, and she stops in the middle and is like, "Hey, that book, read me that book. What does it say?" And then they have to read the famous quote by Oppenheimer everybody knows in this like most random, inappropriate possible place it could be, so that we could bring it back later when he says it for the real, and we could be like, "Oh, there was a connection. He said it at the beginning." It was so stupid. And that scene bothered me a lot. It's like, why are we doing this?
Have you never hung out with literature nerds? They're crazy, man. They do stuff like that in intimate situations.
There you go. But that, you know, not that isn't a true thing in my feelings. To expand it out a little bit more, for me, I'm a little bit more forgiving of the messages behind Barbie and like kind of its themes and things, because the stuff, not that stuff is bad, but like to me, the thing that really made the movie and the reason it was so good was because it was funny. Like, when was the last time I saw like I was like laughing out loud in the theater? It's been a long time since I've had something like that. And it was consistent. Like, I was consistently laughing throughout my watch time, and that's like an amazing thing. Whereas if I think about Oppenheimer as like a drama, its plot is a little, these are my opinions, but I think it's a little meandering at times, can get a little convoluted at times. It wasn't that I couldn't follow it, but that like it took more effort than it should to me, have to like a movie should be able to kind of carry you through the plot without me having to like, oh wait, am I remembering that? And some people might disagree with that. Maybe people like a challenging watch or something, but for me, I just thought that as a drama, it was good but not great. It's not my favorite Nolan film by any stretch of the imagination. It's probably actually lower on my tier list of things I enjoy by him. But yeah, Barbie was just hilarious. It's so funny, and I give a lot of points for that. So it was foreshadowing, I guess. It was my favorite movie I saw this year that came out this year. Well, even if it wasn't my favorite movie I saw this year. But
my biggest it always comes down to this factor for me whenever it comes to any sort of narrative thing, which is length, and Oppenheimer is just a little too long. Too long. And I mean, it's very engaging for most of the runtime, considering it's literally just people talking, kind of like we are in rooms. I mean, Nolan's a good director; he makes it all exciting, but it's just 3 hours of that. And I actually do prefer Oppenheimer a little more than Barbie, even though I started off with the criticisms. And I think that just might boil down to the fact that I was actually a little more interested in the subject matter. Like I read an entire biography about Oppenheimer before I saw the movie. And it's not like Oppenheimer's like a personal hero of mine or anything. I just occasionally feel like I should read a nonfiction book once in a while. And it's like, hey, Oppenheimer movie's coming out. Why
he's
not
interesting.
Read about him?
I did not know all the stuff about him before I saw the biopic. So it definitely I definitely learned stuff. Like it wasn't just, oh, he made the atomic bomb, which is all I probably could have told you before.
Yeah. So yeah, just purely based on what Oppenheimer's about, made me prefer it a little more. But Barbie is definitely the more colorful, exciting, entertaining film. And actually, if I was gonna recommend one of the movies to watch to someone, I'd probably say Barbie, just because, well, it's not as long. And I don't know, just for someone like me, it's better at kind of like expanding your horizons, I guess, just getting into the heads of how other people might think. So Barbie's maybe the slightly more relevant film, but Oppenheimer is overall just better, more suited to my tastes. But Braden does bring up a good point that Barbie is just legitimately funny, which is always a good thing. It's hard to make me laugh, and Barbie did make me laugh at points. So I should say it's hard for movies to make me laugh. I'm a giggle riot when I'm around friends, but movies they gotta put in the work.
That's fair. So, as we talked about earlier, Barbenheimer was a massive success, and there were other hit movies that came out this year that did very well at the box office. But also very notable this year was The Bombs, and there were quite a few. I guess a question to ask is, some bombs that come to the top of my head are, I think Wish is a really big one. Elemental was a bomb.
What was Wish again? I don't remember.
Oh my goodness. So Wish is Disney's big, like Frozen, Moana type, like animated film. And the fact that you haven't even heard about it shows how bad it bombed.
It's
like in terms of
maybe I did hear about it, maybe I read it, but it's not something that's stuck in my mind. Yeah, like no image or anything comes to my mind.
There was some like screenshots that went around just showing how bad it looked, and I haven't seen the movie, and part of it is because it looks bad. Like everything I've heard about it is that it wasn't very well made, and like that kind of genre of like a Disney princess movie if it's, I'm just a movie guy, so if it gets like a 90% not Rotten Tomatoes, then like, yeah, I'll check that out. But if it's not that, I'm like, no, I'm not that interested. Not that I'm the target audience, but yeah, that's probably like the biggest bomb I can think of. Elemental was the Pixar movie that kind of bombed. Disney's had a lot of bombs this year. Napoleon was a bomb that's kind of out right now. It's a Ridley Scott film, and
the two big ones I'm thinking of are the Flash and the Indiana Jones movie, because those were like
that was a big bomb
movies,
too.
Very expensive movies. They didn't do well.
So I'm curious about, and I'm sure if we thought harder, we could probably think of some more. There's some also movies that didn't bomb per se, but didn't meet expectations. Like Little Mermaid, I think that there was an expectation that was going to be like a huge hit, and it ended up just being like a minor hit, which for a company like Disney is more noteworthy than it might have been from our studio. But yeah, I agree. I think Indiana Jones for sure underperformed. Wasn't there the new Mission Impossible that bombed too?
Really?
Yeah, that did not do well compared to the budgets. So like all these movies, right? Like they might do better than like an A24 movie, but the budgets are so much bigger that they lose money in the end. So they're still flops.
I didn't know the Mission Impossible movie did that bad.
And yeah, and again, like I don't know if I'm conflating like how many truly lost, like did not make up their budget, and how many just underperformed expectations.
Yeah, true. There's a difference between bomb and underperform. Some of these weren't like bombs; they just
right. Like I think Elemental actually did make its money back, but just barely. So that would be like an underperformance more than a bomb, I guess. And Mission Impossible might be in that lane, but it definitely wasn't like the hit of the year. It just wasn't that. In fact, if I look at the highest grossing movies, Sound of Freedom and Taylor Swift's movie outperformed some of these all the movies that we've talked about so far.
Okay.
So the top grossing movies are 1, Barbie, 2, Super Mario Bros, 3, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, 4, Guardians of the Galaxy, 5 is Oppenheimer, 6, The Little Mermaid, 7, Ant-Man and the Wasp, 8, John Wick 4, 9, Sound of Freedom, and 10 was Taylor Swift The Eras Tour.
Okay.
So if Taylor Swift is concert movie is outperforming,
but that concert movie was a huge thing. Taylor Swift's like,
to be clear, I mean, let's not understate the power of Taylor Swift here. Like obviously she's a phenomenon in her own right, but typically concert films, outperforming big blockbusters is notable. But yeah, I was curious about, out of these bombs, like how many did you guys see? I saw a handful of them, but a lot of them I didn't.
I saw Indiana Jones. I definitely saw Mission Impossible. I did see The Flash, but not in theaters. I did pay money to go see that movie. The others, like the ones that underperformed, yeah. I don't know if I saw any of the other ones. I mean, I was gonna go see Mission Impossible no matter what because I love that franchise. And Indiana Jones, like, sure, I'll go see it. I mean, I love the original Indiana Jones movies. And like this, I went into this one with like no expectations, basically. And actually ended up enjoying it more than I thought I would. But yeah, I'm not like devastated it underperformed or anything.
Sure. I think the interesting thing to me is that with Indiana Jones 4, people hated that movie, like hated it. This movie, I did not see inspire that kind of like vitriol. It was more indifference, which might have been worse. I don't know. But I saw the Indiana Jones movie. I thought it was totally fine. I mean, it wasn't like a classic in the way that the originals were, but it wasn't bad. It was entertaining. But yeah, so it's just interesting, to see it flop. And so you start to wonder, are audiences getting, tired of like the same old superhero franchise films.
Probably, and also just like that movie had an insane budget, right? Like there's only so much money you can throw at a movie before like it kind of like, and like keep that pattern up with multiple, like a bunch of movies before that just kind of implodes on itself. Like that doesn't really seem sustainable, and that's what we're seeing. Like they're not making their money back.
Do you think this year is concerning for movies? Like is movies during the COVID era, we wondered like, oh, is movie theaters in jeopardy? Like, is it just going to be completely consumed by streaming, subsumed by, video at home? Or, if we just talked about some of the big, huge movies that came out, is this a good year?
Well, it's hard to judge because so like what happened back in the day, and I realized things were different back then, like because there was no streaming or like even like video at home, but like essentially when the studio system collapsed, roughly like in the 60s, people they started taking chances on like just like up and coming like kind of like film weirdos with like crazy ideas. And so you end up getting stuff like Star Wars, The Godfather, Taxi Driver, like you start getting like lots of like really like brilliant creative individuals that are like, like lionized today. So that was pretty cool. I think a lot of people would say like the 70s was a great decade for film. And it would be nice to see something cool like that happen. But then again, like the landscape is different. Like streaming is a big factor in things. But if you like, because what Disney or like some of these big companies were doing before was like, for some of these Marvel films, they'd get like directors who are like, like visionary directors, who have like personality and style, and they'd like they'd like just try to get them to make like kind of like a regular Marvel movie, and none of their like directorial like flavor came through. Now, if they start getting these directors again and letting them do their own thing, we could get like more interesting stuff. Whether that'll be successful is a different thing, because people are spending less money at the movie theaters these days, right? I don't have a statistic off the top of my head. I felt like I heard that somewhere, but I might be wrong. So.
That sounds right. I certainly spent way more money in the movie theaters this year. I guess it's a very personal, like a personal thing here.
My prediction would be, and like I'm talking out of my ass, like just to say a disclaimer. But if I just based on what the sense I get is that if that's true, it's in relation to pre-COVID, because there's no way that this is a worse year for movies than during the COVID years. Like there's definitely, there wasn't $1 billion movies happening in 2020 and 2021. So like there's definitely, the line's gone up. I think there's been more people in theaters and things. Now, how does that compare to pre-COVID? I don't know. Maybe there was like a decline. But I think that this year actually gave me, despite the bombs and everything, this year gave me a lot of hope for the industry, because it proves that there's still something is in the movie theater experience that people still want. It just has to be the right thing. It has to be right, the right kind of event or whatever. And yeah, maybe like going to see the 47th Marvel movie is not it anymore, and that's fine. Like we can find something else. I was in superhero fatigue for a long time, so that's not at all a problem that that's happening.
Like, yeah, with the whole Barbenheimer thing, like those two, Greta Gerwig and Christopher Nolan, like those are directors like with like personality, like they, like Oppenheimer feels like a Christopher Nolan movie, Barbie like feels like a Greta Gerwig movie, like Well, I guess it actually is pretty different to her first two movies, but it's like very unique. You can tell like there's artistic intent behind it.
Yeah, and even though, Barbie and Mario are based on like IPs, they're not like they're original films, right? They're not sequels. And so the fact that non-sequels were the highest grossing movies this year, I think says something. I think it says something interesting.
Well, with Mario though, like I felt like any like Mario movie was gonna make a lot of money because he's like one of the most famous mascots out there. Like everyone knows who Mario is.
Let's talk about Mario, because obviously that was a really big deal. Mario was super successful, and I don't completely disagree with you. Like I think that you could make a horrible movie, put Mario's name on it, and it would do numbers. But I don't know if it would do these kind of numbers if there wasn't something to the movie. And I think that having seen it, there's a lot to criticize. And when I first saw it, I didn't think like this is amazing, like this is great, right? But there's a lot of I don't know what the term is. There was clearly a lot of love put into it. Like there's like 1.5 billion references that you can catch, right? And they're like giving you miles a minute, and like it's all to appeal. It might necessarily be like what makes an auteur movie making, but like clearly it's made like it was a passion thing. Like clearly the people involved making it cared, and it wasn't the Mario movie of the 80s. Like I could just imagine a scenario like that where like it's totally disconnected from the games, and it's like this weird thing that everyone just comes out of it like, huh? And then it doesn't have good word of mouth. And like I could just see that world, and like that's not the world we lived in. Most people who saw the Mario movie liked it. And
yeah, it's a movie, I guess, for fans, because it's a movie that's hard to like parse if you haven't played the games. Like, isn't there one scene where like they just like start getting in go-karts and driving?
Yes.
And that makes sense
if
you've played the Mario games.
Yeah.
If you haven't, you're completely lost. So why is this happening?
It totally was a bunch of, the plot is so paper thin, but yeah, like people watching it probably aren't going to care, right? They know Mario Kart, they know Donkey. They had the Smash Bros level, right? At one point, it was just a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's just like,
look at that.
Kind of like, what do you call those? Easter eggs? Is that what we call? Yeah.
I think I'm more cynical towards that movie. I didn't like it. And kind of the things that you're kind of talking about, I think are part of the reasons I am a little bit cynical about it. It's like, yes, it wasn't the old Mario movie, which was like terrible, obviously, right?
But more interesting, I think. In my opinion.
Sure. Yeah, in a sense, because like to me, like a lot of Easter eggs does not read like a labor of love automatically. Like it seems to me like that they know that Mario is a $1 billion industry, and so they're making sure that the people who know Mario like the things that are happening, because like we're saying, it's a super paper thin plot, and it's tied together by all these references. It's like the entire movie were these references, right? And it's like, and so I didn't like it very much, because I didn't like being shown this cool thing I remember from the game over and over in lieu of a character or a story or anything to that effect, right? I don't know. So to me, it didn't
win you over.
I mean, Jack Black is very, very charismatic. So
he's the best part of that movie by far.
Like, yeah, pretty easily. But like, it's just the story was pretty weak. The narrative arc was super unearned and like thin. Mario didn't really learn anything. He just kept being himself over and over, and then it resulted in something. And so the emotions felt super flattened because of that. And so I don't know. I agree that if Mario was really embarrassing and terrible, I agree with your statement that I think that it would not have done as well. I think the fact that people heard that it was not embarrassing was enough to put it over the million mark, even though it was pretty boring and bad, in my opinion.
And to each their own. I had a fun time watching it. Like, I could recognize the whole time that, like, obviously, but the thing is, my expectations for a Mario plot were already on the floor. Like,
everyone heard the voice cast and went in with no expectations.
Yeah, basically. If it really had been like a very complex, deep plot in the Mario movie, I would have been flabbergasted.
It doesn't need to be complex. But I mean, like, earned,
Sure, I thought it was fine for what it was. There was, even if logically the plot didn't make sense, I thought there was a character arc in terms of, like, he had to prove himself, he had to, like, train, and like there was like a thing that happened there. I think that's fair to say. I think Bowser had a bit of a character arc, maybe, where he had to, like, realize the mistake he made, kind of. It's
there. It's just not particularly, like, challenging or engaging.
Yeah, and then, like, I just thought it was visually, it was like a treat to watch. Like, in the theaters, like, I've definitely criticized other movies for feeling like a roller coaster, but if I'm gonna go on a roller coaster, I want it to be Rainbow Road. I guess that's the best way to put it. So, like, it looked really well done. Like, it was, like, beautifully animated, and it was all this happening. There's a million things happening a second, so it was, like, never boring. At least I never got bored. And then it doesn't overstay its welcome. It's a really short movie. So all those things combined kind of won me over, even if, of course, I wouldn't, even among, like, children's, like, kids animated movies, it's not in the top anything. But it's fun enough. But I guess I do understand not liking it, of course. Let's just I don't want to spend too much time, just kind of cataloging every single other movie that came out. But some other ones that I think are definitely of note did everyone see Spider-Man?
Yeah.
That's got to be it's up there for me. It's like one of the best movies. I say I get superhero fatigue, but when a movie like Spider-Man comes out, it feels so different than what I'm used to with superhero movies. It can all be forgiven. And that movie was, I talk about, like, gorgeously animated. Like, that's the one for sure. Do you guys have any other thoughts about it?
I mean, that was probably my favorite movie of the year, or the one I enjoyed the most. I mean, like, I don't have much to say about it because, like, I think most people saw the first one, and it is kind of just a case of, if you really like that one, and you probably did, like, this is just more of that, also done very well. Even though it is, I guess, not a complete story, but I knew that going in, so it did.
I did. I liked this. I like the sequel better than the original, personally. They took everything that there was good about the original and they just, like, pumped it up to 100, and I did like that.
Yeah, like, in terms of movies that, in my opinion, feel like a labor of love, that movie feels that way to me. Like, it feels like the animators cared so much about that movie. Honestly, every single aspect of that movie felt like people were doing just their best. They were paying such close attention to the plot, to the way that everything's constructed. I don't know. I absolutely loved it. Yeah, it was great.
Do you have thoughts about the whole? Did you hear about the conditions of the animators and?
I did. So I am okay with it not coming out next year like it had originally planned. Apparently, it was supposed to be like there was supposed to be another movie already coming out this year. That's ridiculous. Like, I would please go home to your families.
Well, it seems like, as we've been talking, we've kind of been slowly revealing our favorite movies of the year. So Spider-Man for Jail, would you say that's pretty fair to say? For me, I actually do kind of struggle with this a little bit because I kind of have to think. I think Barbie was my favorite movie theater experience. Like I probably had more fun in the theater watching that than I did any other movie. Does that make it a better movie? Does that make it my favorite movie? I don't know. I mean, these things are all subjective.
Well, if we're gonna
experience,
I know what you mean there, because Spider-Man was, I guess, the movie I enjoyed the most. I say it's my favorite movie of the year, but it's not the movie that I most often think about and am interested in rewatching. But it's the most enjoyable time I had.
Yeah, I actually don't have that much interest in rewatching Barbie anytime soon. And that's the case for me for a lot of comedies. Like I kind of need to forget the jokes a little bit before I revisit them because, it's just not as interesting to me. Whereas a movie like Spider-Man, I could definitely see myself revisiting. And there's some others, but it's all a moot point though because my favorite movie I saw this year did not come out this year. It's an old movie, but I saw it for the first time, and I did watch it this year. And I never rewatch movies, but this year I watched that movie 3 times. And that is Tokyo Godfathers, which is...
Oh, the Satoshi Kon film?
Yes. And I have seen all of his other movies before, and I never checked this one out because it just didn't seem as interesting as the others. Because, if you know his stuff, like, Perfect Blue and Paprika, it's all very thrillers and kind of
this one's pretty different from the rest of his work.
It's a very different movie, and it's just it's a Christmas movie, and not in the way Die Hard is a Christmas movie where it's tangentially set during Christmas. It's about Christmas. It's like a Christmas movie, but it is probably the best Christmas movie I've ever seen in my life. It made me well up, made me laugh. Right, I laughed, I cried. It was all the things. And I just thought it was so good. Just 10 out of 10, 100%. I just can't believe I hadn't seen it before. And I saw it for the first time in December. So when I say I saw it 3 times this year, I saw it 3 times in the last month of the year because I was just so into it. So that for me is my favorite movie I saw this year, even if I didn't see it in a theater setting.
I have a tough time with this because I could think of my individual kind of movie experience, but and given the topic or kind of the theme of a little bit about what we're talking about, I feel kind of bad for saying this, but one of my favorite movies comes from a series, and it's the fact that it's part of that series that also kind of elevates it to me. But John Wick ended, and every single one of those movies is amazing. It's my all-time favorite action series. John Wick 4 was a perfect way to end the whole series. I hope they don't make another one because I think it would cheapen it. But I've heard that they might. But I love it.
Oh yeah, John Wick 4 kicked ass. Yeah, that was a good movie.
Well, now they're doing all these spin-off movies, and there's a series, and they're they're not letting it go, but
we'll see what happens with that.
At least for a while. I didn't see John Wick 4, and my experience with the John Wick movies, I always appreciate them when they're on, but it's always they've always been on in the background. I saw one in a hotel, and I caught it halfway through, but I just watched it to the end. I was my experience with John Wick 2, so I'm sure I'm not getting the full experience out of it, but they're very well choreographed, and they're
Yeah, I mean, I love a well-made action movie, and these are very well-made action films. So
saw the first one, and after that, every time a John Wick movie came out, I went to the theaters to see it, opening day, whenever I could.
Yeah, this is actually the only one I managed to catch in theaters because I hadn't seen them until like this year. But I saw the fourth one was coming, and I was like, I should catch up because I've been hearing about how amazing these movies are ever since the first one.
And yeah, is there any other movies that you guys want to talk about? Did you guys see The Boy and the Heron? That was something I saw recently. I thought it was good.
I didn't see it.
No, I didn't catch that one. Although I do want to.
Yeah, me too. When you were saying, are there other movies I'd like to talk about? I guess really quickly, I'll give like some quick thoughts on some of them. Killers of the Flower Moon.
Yeah, see, in my opinion, that movie is better than Oppenheimer. It does what Oppenheimer does, just better.
I disagree. I think Oppenheimer was better, and I did like it. I thought that
that movie made me feel bad. I was watching it and I was like upset. I was upset at what I was seeing on screen. I was like angry,
and that's why
I was like thinking about like, damn, this is a movie. Like,
because like that's the way you got to feel. Honestly, my one criticism of it, the biggest one in my mind is that I don't understand why Leonardo DiCaprio's character was at the center of the movie. I just because I think that what we had this super compelling villain, Robert De Niro's character. Like he's just like this conniving, like awful person and fun to watch being awful. Leonardo DiCaprio's character is awful, but not fun to watch at all. Just like this sad, like.
But his patheticness is part of it, I guess.
Yeah, sad, stupid,
I get your
sad. Just, I hated being with him all the time, and the movie was with him all the time. And then also there was Lily Gladstone's character, which she put on this excellent performance. Really, the story is about her in a sense. All the events are kind of surrounding her. So if we had like shifted the view from either her or maybe to Robert De Niro, who's way more fun to watch, but like, that was my big issue with it, is that it wasn't very fun because spending any time with Leonardo DiCaprio's character is not a fun time at all. So let's see. As far as other movies worth mentioning or worth talking about, Dungeons and Dragons.
I liked that movie a lot. I actually saw it.
Yeah, I thought it was great.
About that at all.
I like Dungeons and Dragons, and I thought that was about as good of that kind of movie can be. I thought it would be the funniest one, but then I saw Barbie, and Barbie's funnier. So, yeah, it's a great movie. Really.
Yeah, an improvement over the was it the 2000s one, the 2001 one. Have you guys seen that Dungeons and Dragons movie? It is not good.
What's interesting to me is that movie didn't do well, but it's getting a sequel. I feel like a lot of people talked about it being kind of like a cult classic type movie. So yeah, I think that they've announced that they're going to make a.
I'm extremely excited. I did not think that it would get a sequel after I heard that it didn't do well.
Let me fact check myself live. I can own up if this is making this up. I'm pretty sure.
That would be.
Well, while you do that, I just want to mention real quick a movie called The Holdovers, which is also it's a Christmas movie. It takes place at a boarding school during the Christmas season, and like the few students who have to stay there because they can't go back to their families for whatever reason, and then like a teacher and I think the head chef that stay to supervise. That's the movie that I guess I didn't enjoy it as much as Spider-Man, but it's stuck in my mind and I guess my heart more so. It's a very humanistic film. It's and pretty funny too. It's got Paul Giamatti and he's pretty much always amazing. But yeah, it's kind of got this it takes place in the 70s, but it feels like a 70s indie sort of film. So expect to hear Cat Stevens on the soundtrack. But if you want a good Christmas movie, and I know it's past the season, but watch that one. very good stuff.
Holdovers, okay. So, a little update. There are rumors. Basically, people have talked about the possibility of a sequel. So nothing's officially announced, but they're talking about it. It's in the news. You can like read articles like, will this happen? But let me just tell you my Dungeons and Dragons story really quick. So I went to the movie theater. This is like a small theater. We call it like a matinee. And the person sitting next to us started laughing in the movie at a not funny part. Like this was not, it was, no one here was laughing with him, but he started laughing like Joker, cackling, evil laughter. He had a backpack. And then it was so weird because there was like a family in front of us, like with kids and stuff, and they all instinctually knew like, don't look at him. No one reacted to the laugh. We all just kept our minds forward. And he did it like a couple times. It was like, and every time it was like, there were parts where we would all laugh in the theater together because it was a joke, but like not that time. It was just, so I don't know what was going on with that. Nothing happened, thank goodness. But that was just a strange occurrence. You can only laugh about in hindsight. But yeah, that's my Dungeons and Dragons story.
Must have been remembering like a funny SNL skit or something.
But yeah, I'll just talk briefly to The Boy and the Heron, just because I'm Miyazaki stan. He's along with Tarantino, they're probably like my favorite directors. Like I watch, if they put out a movie, I'm gonna watch it. That just is what it is. I've seen all his movies. This one is, I've heard people like it better on the second rewatch because it plays like an art film. Like it doesn't, there's things about it like just don't make a lot of sense, and it's a little jarring, and it's like, you can tell it's like very steeped in metaphor and things. And so and the metaphor went over my head. So like, I would probably have to like read, like what did this all mean? And then have to rewatch it again with that in mind to be able to like get it. But that being said, it still was like very whimsical and kind of a wonderful, it had very tender moments, etc. I still liked it. I still enjoyed the time I had, even if I didn't totally understand it. So yeah, I would still recommend it though.
Okay, yeah, I'm definitely interested in seeing it. Actually, the movie I really, really want to see but can't, like I couldn't and I can't just because it's not released here yet, is the Godzilla movie.
Oh, that's funny. So wait, so Godzilla -1, right?
Yeah. That's just not playing.
Like, yeah, like the Japanese movie's not playing in Korea, and somehow we have.
I guess like maybe just people here aren't big Godzilla fans, which wouldn't surprise me that much. I am a huge Godzilla fan and have seen all the movies except for this one because I can't. It's a big bummer because my brother and my dad have both talked to me about how awesome it is. I just sit there going like,
good job. That's
yeah,
funny.
I'll just, when that finally releases, like on video, I guess is when I'll have to see it. What can you do?
Yeah. I'll also just quickly shout out Megan was really good. It was like a horror movie that I saw. I saw a bunch
of the dolls
this year.
Yeah. I saw that too, actually. Not in theaters.
The new Ninja Turtle movie is good. In fact, you might think it's maybe the best Ninja Turtle movie. If it weren't for Spider-Man, it felt like, having seen Spider-Man was so good that it almost felt like it was Spider-Man's little brother movie to me. But in a sense, but it was still great. So that's a great movie. There is Another really good horror movie I saw this year was I think it's called Talk to Me.
Yeah, I've heard good things about that one.
Yeah, that's like I think it's A24, I want to say. But yeah, it's just like it's a good, like, legitimately scary moments kind of horror movie. Megan is more on like the comedic-ish side, like I think Chucky 2.0 basically.
Megan's more silly. Yeah.
But yeah, Speak to Me is great. And yeah, there's so many movies I saw this year. I'm not gonna be able to talk to them all, but Creed 3 was really fun. I liked Scream. The new Scream movie was really good. Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm just trying to remember what I all saw this year. I forgot about the new Scream movie. I did see that.
Yeah, Elemental I thought was really good. The Pixar movie. It was actually it was really great. Although I didn't see that in theaters, I saw it in streaming. The Blackening is another horror movie that is like a horror comedy. It was pretty fun. Yeah, just a lot of good stuff came out this year. I went to the theater a lot, and I didn't even see everything I wanted to see. So I'm interested in the Godzilla movie. I've also heard good things. I want to see. I'm interested in Napoleon, although I've heard mixed reviews.
I was interested until I heard about it.
I want to see the Iron Claw. I've heard really good things about that.
Has Ferrari come out in the States yet? Have either of you guys heard about that?
Okay. I've heard of it. I have not seen it.
Okay. I really want to see that, just because I don't actually care about Ferrari or anything, but I really like the director, Michael Mann. So I was just wondering if either of you had seen it.
But all right, I want to kind of hit two other things before we end the podcast. One is movies this year. What are you excited for? There's a lot coming out. So I can think of a few things that I cannot wait to see. Dune. I'm sure about that.
Dune Part 2's the first thing that immediately comes to mind for me. The first part was really well done, and I'm a big fan of the book, and so I've got faith in the second part.
Yeah, another movie I'm extremely excited about is the new Lord of the Rings movie coming to theaters next year. I can't wait for that. I feel like it hasn't been marketed a lot. It's coming out in December, so maybe that's why. Maybe we won't see like a marketing push till later. But Amazon, I think it's Amazon. They bought some rights to do Lord of the Rings, and they're getting the most out of it. So they're going to do a Lord of the Rings movie. It's called War of the Rohirrim, I think.
So is it like based on like one of Tolkien's works or something? Or?
Yeah, I think all this stuff is based in like the histories, just like their show is. So like if you read the Silmarillion, right? And the way that those books, if you read them, they'll be like, and there was it's like a textbook. It's like there was in 1200 in year of 5, there was the great battle of the Sarnath.
It's like a religious text. It's the Bible for Tolkien's
right.
Middle.
So like there's a lot of interpretation there. Like, oh, there's a great battle. Like, what was that like? Right? Like there's a lot of more freedom. Yeah, and then there would be in like the Lord of the Rings, which obviously has like dialogue and all sorts of more going on. But I love Lord of the Rings, and so even the bad Lord of the Rings, like the Cammy movies that came out, the animated ones back in the day, like I like those. So there's almost no chance that there was going to be Lord of the Rings movies that I wasn't going to see, even if it's bad. But I'm not expecting it to be bad. I'm going in expecting it to be a decent movie. So we'll see about that.
I'll have to look that up. I haven't heard anything about that. Although I'm more wary. Because I feel like you're in the inevitable position of being compared to Peter Jackson's movies, like the original Lord of the Rings trilogy.
This movie is going to be animated.
Oh,
Does
really?
that change your opinion on it? Because then it's a different thing. It's bringing something else to the table, right?
Okay.
Um,
I mean, yeah. I'll probably go see it. Just I'll keep my expectations to a minimum.
Some other things I think are interest me. Gladiator 2. That could be good or it could be bad.
It's a sequel to the Ridley Scott movie?
And Ridley Scott's directing, yes.
Are they using the crazy Gladiator 2 script that Nick Cave once wrote?
I don't know. I do.
Where
Tell us about this Nick Cave script.
I didn't read it, but apparently, I think the guy even time travels in this script. It's like buck wild. I think I've heard. I haven't read it yet. I can't remember much, but just the fact that Nick Cave wrote a script to Gladiator 2 means it's interesting. I'll probably read it sometime. If they're directing that, I will absolutely go see it.
All right. There's also a new Alien movie, which is
I did see that the other day, and doesn't it actually take place between some other movies? It's not as far as I know, a direct sequel to whatever the last one was, Covenant.
It says it's a standalone installment.
Okay. Could be interesting.
Maybe that's good. Deadpool 3 is coming out. And Despicable Me 4. I don't particularly care about either of those movies very much, but I just imagine they'll do well. If I had to guess. Probably one of the bigger movies coming out. Inside Out 2. I'm a bit more interested in that. The first Inside Out was good. Furiosa, a Mad Max movie. It's been a while since we've visited Mad Max.
Yeah, is what's his face directing? I can't remember his name.
It looks like George Miller.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So George Miller's directing.
Yep.
Oh.
Okay. Could be good.
Yeah. New Mad Max. One movie that I wasn't interested in, but now I am, is Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. And the reason I'm interested in that movie isn't I haven't been keeping up on the Planet of the Apes franchise. Although it sounds like this could be a good time to jump in because it's like a time skip situation. But the reason I want to see it now is because Wes Ball is directing. And Wes Ball has been signed up to direct The Legend of Zelda, the movie. And that's a movie that I'm going to see no matter what. But I would like to believe that the director they picked I'm hoping, crossing my fingers that this Planet of the Apes movie is going to turn out good. And who knows, maybe it'll be great, and then I'll be more excited about the Zelda movie. Civil War, have you guys heard about that movie? A24.
Oh, I think I have. That's the one where it's like a future civil war in the United States, right?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
That sounds interesting to me.
So it's like a sci-fi kind of thing.
But I think it's supposed to be contemporary. It's like, imagine the 2024 election went south and we had a civil war. I think that's, I don't know that all the details, but I think that's kind of what they were going for.
Okay. Could be interesting.
Yeah, that's a kind of a big hit or miss. If that does not happen,
that could also be really bad. I can see it being
but if they do it well, that's an interesting premise. A new Ghostbusters. Does anyone care about that? Yeah, me either.
There's been one good Ghostbusters movie, right? The first one.
Yeah.
That's it, as far as I know.
Anyone interested in Argyle?
What is Argyle?
I'll take that as a no. But it's a movie about it's like a spy movie. But think what's the name of that franchise?
James Bond.
No, but it's a parody of that. Kingsman.
The Pink Panther.
Kingsman.
Kingsman.
I've heard of Kingsman. I've never seen any of the movies.
I liked the first one, and they kept making sequels and prequels, and all of those were bad. But
the Kingsman movies are right. Like they're like kind of action comedies that are like based on. They're almost like a parody of James Bond. I think that's where this is. That's where Argyle is going to be. I've been hearing a little bit of buzz on it, but maybe that's just because I'm a James Bond guy, so of course I get recommended those kind of movies, I guess. But yeah, those are probably the big ones that I can think of. So is Dune the thing everyone's looking forward to the most?
For me, yeah.
Yeah, it's. I'm sure the first one was good. There's no reason to think the second one won't be good, possibly better. So definitely excited, and it's coming out in March, so we don't have to wait very long. Nice. All right, the last thing to hit on before we just close this out, and this is always one of my favorite parts of these annual podcasts, where we talk about anything non-movies. So again, this is going to be not structured. You can talk about whatever you want, but video games, books, TV shows, sports, whatever you want to talk about, the election or something. You can, whatever you want to talk about for either 2023 or looking forward to 2024. Like this is the chance to do it. So, you guys, anything you guys want to, any media you want to call out? Start there. I'm happy to talk a little bit if you guys think.
Go ahead.
One, I'll talk about two things. So if you look at my Nintendo does this thing where it's like Spotify Wrapped, where it'll tell you your most played games of the year, and my most played games are N64 games, and it's not close. So if you want to know the kind of stuff I'm playing the Nintendo 64 streaming service on Switch. Basically, that's.
Wait, so is it all the games you've been playing on the Switch?
Yeah, they get added together. There's just there's an app. There's an N64 app, and it's like Netflix, where once you click.
Oh, I mean the thing that tells you how much time you spend on games.
Right. Okay. It just N64 gets its own, so it's kind of cheating in a way because it's a bunch of games in one. But I put more time into that than any other game.
Really, more than the latest Zelda game?
Yeah. So yeah, I was getting into that. I played a little bit of, and people who know me know that I'm a huge Zelda fan. As big as you'll find, basically. When I played Tears of the Kingdom, I played it for 10 minutes, and then I went and I beat Ocarina of Time. Then I beat Minish Cap. Then I played Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons. Then I played Majora's Mask. And then I went back to Tears of the Kingdom. Because as I was playing, I was like, this isn't really what I want right now. What I really want is to play Ocarina of Time. So I still haven't beaten Tears of the Kingdom. Although I've
Really? I'm shocked.
Yeah, I've made progress. But the thing is that Breath of the Wild already wasn't my favorite in the franchise because I'm a sucker for the old formula. But I still enjoyed my time a lot with Breath of the Wild. I like this game less than Breath of the Wild. And the big reason is because they've switched the focus. In Breath of the Wild, the big kind of mechanic of the game, the main thing you're doing is exploring. It's an exploratory game. You're a person, you explore the thing. In Tears of the Kingdom, of course there's an exploring element, like it's Zelda, but there's way more of an emphasis on crafting. And there is no video game mechanic I dislike more than crafting. I don't like Minecraft. I don't like how every game has a crafting mechanic now. The idea of collecting resources to go make a thing and that's the game loop, that's just not fun for me. if you know anything about Tears of the Kingdom, you know that its crafting system is quite a bit different than that. So they probably did crafting about as well as you could be done, but it's still arts and crafts, the video game, and I don't like arts and crafts. And so I don't like spending time making these like contraptions. It's just not that entertaining to me. I just want to go explore and fight people, but there's time and time again it like stops you and like, nope, you need to build the contraption, like we're doing that now. And so it's like, oh, okay, like let me go build this machine, I'll like, you know, whatever. So that's just that's been my experience with Tears of the Kingdom. And then last thing I'll mention, video game related, is that as I was playing Tears of the Kingdom and I was having a you know, I don't want to get the impression that I dislike this game. I've still put, after N64, Tears of the Kingdom was next. So like I still put a lot of time in that game. Even now, even though I'm only halfway through, because it's a big monster game. But I played this game called I'm blanking on it now.
Really good game, I guess.
Yeah. It's not called A, is it?
Did it come out this year?
It came out
last year, I guess.
Xbox. So I think it had been already out on PlayStation. I'm totally blanking on this. Stray. It's called Stray. And let me say that the first, like when I played Stray for the first time and I was like starting that game up, I was like 5 minutes in, I was like, this might be like my favorite game of the year. This is incredible. Yeah.
Okay.
And like I was like, this is so good. And then like an hour into the game, I was like, never mind, no, this was not my favorite game of the year. but it started out so strong and so good. So I would love to see a Prey 2 where, because in the beginning of the game, you're a cat, right? And it's like a very lifelike cat. You don't feel like you feel like you are a cat. So like just being a cat in the world is part of the fun. And in the beginning, you're like in like this like lush green area, and you're like exploring the thing. And I was like, this is gonna be great. Like I'm gonna be a cat. I'm gonna be chasing things and whatever. But then pretty soon, you like fall into like this dystopian robot place, and you get like a little robot gear, and you start doing like sci-fi stuff. And then my interest started to leave. Once I wasn't doing cat things, I wanted to be a cat. We're like getting away from what was really interesting about the game. But I would love to see a Stray 2 where it's just that first part, but they make a game out of that. So that was my little.
It's after the dystopian things happen. Everything's gone back to normal now.
Yeah, and it can even be dystopian. Don't make your dystopian. The problem with the dystopian world is that it's samey. Like everything's the same. So the way that this is slight spoilers for Stray, but how it starts is you start on the surface, and the surface is like, you know, like nature has overrun everything. So like that kind of dystopian would be cool, right? Where it's like, oh, they're like all these buildings are in ruin or whatever, but pretty early on you go underground, and underground is where all the robots live. And underground, it's just like a never-ending city, and it's just not as interesting to see. Like, oh, another skyscraper, and like we're just going from skyscraper to skyscraper to skyscraper, and it's all muddy and like dark, and so like that is just I'm just not as interested in that world. Doing my robot stuff. I might revisit it, and like I still, you know, even now when it's not what I had hoped it was, I still have fun playing it, so I might eventually beat it. I don't know, but yeah. Oh, last thing I'll say on video games, the Advance Wars remake came out this year. I love Advance Wars. It's one of my favorite games of all time, and they screwed the pooch. They made bad remake.
Wait, so was this on the Switch or?
Yeah, like it's like an HD remake.
Like, so like it was billed as a remake of the first game or something, or?
Yeah, it's called Advance Wars 1 and 2, so it's like both games combined. And yeah, it has like HD graphics. Like this was like a $60 game, built from like the ground up. But yeah, I still like it because at the end of the day, I still like Advance Wars, right? So like even if they had just put out the Game Boy version onto the Switch, then that would have been fine, and I still would have liked that. But the hope was in the remake you could like have a chance to do something cool, and they messed it up. They changed the pace of the game so it's way slower. That's part of it. Is that like the amount of time it takes to complete a mission in this game is at least twice as long as it was in the Game Boy version because the AI is slower. Like in the Game Boy one, like the AI would be like they're doing all their things. In this one, it feels like the AI has to think. So like there'll be a pause and they're like, you know, like it's just slow. And so like why? Like how did that happen? Like that's very odd. And then the thing that bothered me the most was how badly they botched online mode. Because online is like the one thing it's like, oh, you can do that now. You couldn't have done that on the Game Boy. Now you can. And they made it so online matches, first of all, there's no lobbies, right? You have to like know someone who has the game so that you can like exchange friend codes, all the Nintendo nonsense that this is not totally new, but like, you know, Mario Kart can do it. Smash Bros. Like you should be able to just make a lobby. Like that just seems standard to me. And then they limited it to 2 people. So you can't, it's a 4-player multiplayer game. And yet online only allows you to have 2. And it's unbelievably disappointing. So that was, those are my gripes. Some people really don't like the graphics. I think the graphics are fine. But if you didn't like them, I would understand because they're a little basic.
I'm going to pick up from where Braden is because, you know, our family has played this game for years. And so, and I just want to say that like pretty much every time, like they could like maybe just even keep the gameplay, which was good, they somehow made it worse. Like, let me give some more examples. There's a map maker thing, okay? If let's say you want to make a cool map and you want to play online with friends, no, you can't do it. There's no way to do that at all. Instead, you have to be with the person. What else? Oh yeah. So you know how it has both the first Advance Wars and the second Advance Wars? Well, so you would think if you buy the game, you have those 2 games. No, you have Advance Wars 1, and you beat that one, and then you can access Advance Wars 2 content. It's like, it's just, why would they make everything worse? I just don't understand. In any case, all right. Games that I liked. Baldur's Gate 3. Super awesome. I've had it for a long time. I had it back when it was in early access. And I was impressed with it in early access. And it is like, the thing about early access is that you stop at the end of the first act. Like, you know, they didn't develop it. And then the game came out and it was like 3 times as big. And it was a huge game in early access. And the game is awesome. If you like Dungeons and Dragons, it is Dungeons and Dragons with a little bit more restrictions because obviously you can't have a person like a DM just making stuff up. But it's basically that experience in like a fully realized video game. There's some differences in addition to that, but it's just super awesome. Yeah, can't say enough about it. The only thing I feel kind of sad about it is it's a game. It's not a type of game that I would like to play for short periods of time because, you know, it's very story heavy, very narrative focused, and so because of that, I don't want to play in short segments. And now that I work in education, now that the summer's over, I just find it hard to want to play as much now, but I'm sure I'll pick it up next summer and I will finish it hopefully. But it's a great game.
So, yeah, I've heard lots of good things about that one. As for me, I don't think I played a single video game that came out this year. I don't have any of the newest consoles or anything. What I did get though, hold on, was a joystick.
Nice.
And I've been playing, what I've mostly been playing is a Star Wars game from the year that I was born called TIE Fighter, where you literally like fly around in like spaceships from the Emperor and like shoot rebels and try to do missions. Very old school. You can look up the graphics. They just look like chunks, kind of. But it's a lot of fun. It's immersive because you get to like use the joystick, and they're kind of complicated games. Like there's like all these buttons on the keyboard. Use that whole keyboard, like all of the keys. I don't think you could do this with the controller. So you've got to worry about, am I putting too much power in my lasers, my shields, my thrusters? Like, it's if that they don't really make games like this anymore. I think this was way more common back in the day when like having a joystick was like more of a common accessory for PC gaming. Like these days, it's kind of more niche, but I've been having fun with it.
The way you're describing it almost reminds me of like your Microsoft Flight Simulator.
Yeah. I mean, that's another thing you can use the joystick for. I haven't played any of the like those flight simulators, just because as compared to like being like out in space and shooting other spaceships, that kind of sounds a little boring.
Sure.
But yeah, that's what I've been doing, gaming wise.
Yeah, probably call it soon. We've been going on for a bit now, but the last thing that I'm going to pull out is that I managed to get my hands on a special James Bond novel that was released this year in like a limited edition kind of thing, and it is on His Majesty's Secret Service, and it was a promotional tie-in for the coronation of the King. If you don't know, there's a movie called On Her Majesty's Secret Service. This is on His Majesty's Secret Service. And it is James Bond having to save the coronation from a terrorist plot. It was a delightful read on a plane. It's not very long, but it was just very cool. So shout out to that book.
All right, super quick shout out book, Trust of the Emerald Seas. Super great fantasy book in the style of what's it called? My goodness. It's like the kind of the funny fantasy type stories, Terry Pratchett-y.
Okay.
Princess Bride. Princess Bride is the style I was kind of trying to get across. Yeah. But yeah, by Brandon Sanderson, wearing a shirt. Read it.
Oh, nice. Then I'll shout out the Iliad, which I read for the first time last week. It's by a guy called Homer. Don't know if it's about this thing called the Trojan War. Might not have heard of it. Actually, I liked it a lot more than I thought I would. I mean, considering it's a 2,700-year-old book. Part of it's just that since it's so old, just the sensibilities are like completely different from like how people tell stories nowadays or what types of characters to expect. It's kind of batshit insane, and I love it for that. Yeah, I'm finally glad I got around to reading that.
Very cool. Well, all right. I think we'll call it here. If you're listening, thank you for joining us another year. We love doing this, and for everyone who does listen, we really do appreciate all of you. So until next year, we'll do another one of these. For 50 years, for 100 years. What's the thing Rick and Morty say? Rick and Morty, 100 years. But yeah, until next time.
See ya.
Bye.